District 1 this evening, Nancy Horton, Mike Norkin, and Peter Weber. Thanks for being here and spending time with us tonight. We do have a round of questions to these folks, but I would like to open it up to their opening statements first. We're going to give them each 3 minutes. We're going to start in alphabetical order. So Mrs. Horton, I would like to ask you to be first.
I want to thank the Lake Elsinore Citizens Committee. I want to thank the Lake Elsinore Citizens Committee for holding this forum. I know that they didn't necessarily want to do it. It's a great deal of work, and I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce also for providing this opportunity. My name is Nancy Horton. I am a city councilwoman in the city of Canyon Lake. I'm a former mayor. I am married for 49 years to my husband Ted. I have 2 sons and I have 5 grandchildren. I'm a retired teacher and teacher of teachers, literacy specialist, reading coach, district librarian, high school librarian, and volunteer in the community. I have several roles that I've outlined for myself in this campaign. The first goal that I have is to provide clean, reliable, affordable water. That's part of the water district's goal as well. To deal honestly with our drought issues, to work cooperatively with developers to educate them about future water supplies, to contain costs. Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District has the highest rates in the region. It needs to really work on grants for capital improvements. I have a lot of background in water as a result of being Canyon Lake's water chairman of the committee. I think this is a critical time for water districts because we have a severe drought right now in California. It's important that water district board members be well informed and dedicated to solving problems of supply and demand. Some of the issues are financial, some are political, some are historical, but the solutions are based on preparation, educating the public about conservation, working with organizations such as property owners associations and cities to cooperate in saving potable water. Every ounce of recycled water that's used to irrigate is an ounce of potable water that's saved. Water quality issues are regulated by the State Water Quality Control Board representing the Environmental Protection Agency. Staff carries out the function, but board members have to know what's required, and they have to know how EVMWD is working to comply. Having spent the last 6 years on several boards that investigate methods of compliance, recommend funding for projects, and obtain approval for those projects, I've learned a lot about water issues. I participated in interviewing firms to provide compliance monitoring services. I found and secured grants for projects to improve water quality and chart the course to comply with EPA standards by 2020. Sometimes this involved founding coalitions to end a moratorium on areas with failing septic systems that impacted our only drinking water reservoir, Canyon Lake. To educate the public about conservation, I conducted events for the public to learn about drought-tolerant plants, smart meters, smart nozzles, etc. Many things that I have done will work beautifully for me as a board member on EVMWD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Mr. Norkin. Norkin, at 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out. You know, it's kind of a shame that everyone left. We only have just 8 of you, but we thank you for sticking it out. My frustration is some of the same comments that we heard from our state senators or the people running for Senate were some of the same sentiments I wanted to share with you today. I moved to Lake Elsinore 12 years ago. I was a 22-year-old, came out to a city that I saw a lot of potential, a lot of promise with. I met my beautiful wife who's sitting back there. We have our 3-year-old daughter, or going to be 3-year-old daughter. And I sat here and I said, well, what can I do to make a difference? I've been a member of the Lake Elsinore Rotary Club for the last 10 years. I've been a member of the Trauma Intervention Program. I've sat on the board of the Chamber of Commerce for at least 10 years. And as I'm going through all these different things, I say, hey, how can I make a difference? And every time I open up my water bill and I see those crazy rates and I say, yikes, how are we going to be able to sustain this level of crazy rates? And then I go to a Chamber of Commerce board meeting and we have businesses come and they say, no, we'd really like to open up a restaurant inside of our valley. Do you understand how crazy the fees are? Do you understand the different things that they're asking us to do? Did you know that the EVMWD has changed so many restaurants out of coming to Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake, or anywhere because of the connection fees? the per seat fees, the permit fees. I mean, the amount of fees is like going to the DMV and finding out all the different things that you've got to do to have a car, all the insurance. It's nuts. And so when I look at what do I want for a future for my family, my 3-year-old needs to be able to live and grow and prosper in this area. What do we need to sustain that? We need water. And if we don't have people on our water board who are making sure that we've got clean, affordable, safe water, I think all 3 of us can say the same thing. And if not, we should be thrown off the stage right away, because those are the most important things. But on top of it, as a business owner, I started my business at 22. 12 years later, I'm still here. One of the toughest things to do in this country is to be a small business owner. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So after 12 years, I know how to make the cuts. I know how to make the decisions. I know how to think critically. I know how to ask the questions that need to be asked. And unlike other people in this race, I am not a career politician. I'm one of you. I'm one of you who has to pay bills every day. I'm one of you who has to make hard decisions every day. And so I ask you on November 4th to choose someone who hasn't been there before, but will absolutely fight for you to make sure that all of us are paying affordable rates, and we're making sure that our water quality is safe and reliable, and the same stuff everyone else has said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norkin. Up next, Mr. Weber, 3-minute open.
Good evening. Is it on? My name is Peter Weber. A little background. I have a degree in engineering. After doing that, I went to the Air Force. I was an officer. I left after 5 years as a captain. Worked in industry, high chips, high purity metal chips for the computer industries. Came out to California, and I've been in agriculture. We use a lot of water, by the way, in that industry. Right now, for the last 20 years, I work for Ready Pack as a management for operations. Labor rates, labor efficiencies, $700 million we make with bag lettuces and salads and things every year. So it's a big, fast-paced industry. We got like 1,500 people at the plant. What I would also be looking for, if I am elected to the EVMWD, is to have high-quality water at affordable rates, of course, secured water. I do have some government experience. I was the treasurer for City of Lake Elsinore for 5 years. One of the things I did in 2003 was made the rainy day fund. We set up a fiscal policy that made the city really fiscally sound, and set us for 2008 to 2011. We were able to get through that real rocky part with no problems at all with money. I was also a council person, and then we made some changes to operations, which I understand very well, because it just nothing was moving forward. And right now we are moving forward, and the city is doing better. The reason why I wanted for the water board is I see the same problems that we had in the city at the water board. There's real problems with operations management there. They seem more involved with other things like becoming an electric company for the last 10 years instead of concentrating on water and water only. So what I'd like to do is get the focus back on water and make sure that we're doing everything we can with resources available. I took a look at some of the things on the financial statements, and it looks bad. I mean, I think they made $1 for every $1,000 they have to invest. We made a fiscal policy in Elsinore, and we did invest in some all AAA stocks and things, and we got hundreds of thousands of dollars for the city, whereas on about $255 million in investments, they've got $500,000. So it's really poor. We can do better than that. And I would definitely look into that thing to make a fiscal policy that makes sense. Looking at some of the things we're doing with the water, like adding fluoride, I'd be against that. The alum, they call it, like it's a friend, but a little sulfate being added to the lake, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, we've got to get a real plan to fix these lakes, and that is dredging them. And we do have the money to dredge them. As a matter of fact, it's about $172 million in unallocated reserve at EVMWD, and that's just outrageous when you look at the other water companies. I think it winds up being like $3,500 per house. Riverside has $600 unallocated reserve per house. LA has about $200. So, I mean, we're just like way overboard with the cash that they have. They have a huge amount of cash, and yet they're doing nothing to increase the quality. All these different organizations are helping us somewhat, but then again, not really, because I just haven't seen a real increase in quality of water, and we need to get that, and we need to have it available too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the first question, Mr. Norkin will be able to answer this question first. It deals exactly with that reserve fund. A water board campaign flyer suggests that $174 million EVMWD's cash reserves are too high. Assuming that you've been attending water board meetings and or following water board policy actions, what future expenses has EVMWD built into the cash reserve built the cash reserve up to accommodate, and what do you believe the appropriate level for the EVMWD cash reserve should be?
Well, that's a very good question. I think $174 million is absolutely too much money. And one of the things that I have a problem with the EVMWD doing is they have not allocated money to go ahead and put infrastructure in, so that way when businesses and homes are being built and put into the city, we're not putting the burden on all of those new people with different taxes. And so an example, we've got businesses we're looking at coming in on Highway 74, and they're being asked to put in sewer trunk lines and all kinds of different infrastructure improvements, and they're being asked to do it 3 and 4 times the size and the length that normal businesses in normal cities would be doing. And that is the responsibility, I think, of the EVMWD. They need to have a look at what is coming forward to our city. What does our growth look like? How many homes are being built? How many businesses are coming? There's no secret that there's a Walmart coming off of Highway 74. Why isn't there a sewer there? Why isn't that sewer line already built? Why are we putting it all on the backs of the small business owners, the large businesses, and even the people coming in, when that infrastructure should be here, and when they're here, we can go ahead and connect to it, and it wouldn't be these crazy rates. And so, rather than stockpiling $174 million in cash, I would be looking at infrastructure improvements. I would also be looking at making sure that we upgrade all of our recycled water. We need to actually increase all of our recycled water. And so one of the areas that I would be looking at is Tuscany Hills. Tuscany Hills, their HOA is either the second or third largest use of fresh water. My question is, why aren't we putting in recycled lines into Tuscany Hills? Why are we continuing to use fresh water all over our city when we have the capacity we have the ability with the money stockpiled to go ahead and build recycle lines throughout our city?
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I looked at the financial statements, and it's about $174 million in unused reserves. We can do a lot with that money, that's for sure. I think they tried to dredge Canyon Lake about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was just a failure. It wasn't managed correctly. They didn't have the dirt taken out. They didn't pay the people the correct rate. But the real thing that mattered was everybody, besides the people at Canyon Lake, I think it was the POA that was trying to pay for this project, they got no help from any of the surrounding water agencies, including EVMWD, which to me is insane because that's our drinking water. So everybody in this room needs to make sure that Canyon Lake has the highest quality water available. It's not just an issue for people who live in Canyon Lake. It's an issue for everybody in EVMWD that water is the best that we have. And right now it isn't. They're adding aluminum sulfate, which is a Band-Aid fix, to make it clear, and then the aluminum drops to the bottom of the lake and pollutes the lake over time. And sure enough, it's going to build up to the point where they're not going to be able to do anything with that mud on the bottom. Don't go down there swimming and kick that stuff up while you're there because it's bad. And aluminum in your body is not a good thing, excessive amounts. We've got to be careful with that. And adding aluminum to our drinking water just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd be against adding aluminum sulfate to fix these things and taking some of that $174 million that they have and dredging it and having a comprehensive plan to get the dredge done correctly. It's going to take a couple of years. It's not going to take a couple of months. Then we go on down and start dredging Lake Elsinore too, in certain spots there that need it. We did some really good things in Lake Elsinore when we had things happen at the boat launch. We then went to the other side and fixed up a bird sanctuary and things while all the equipment was still there. And it saved us a lot of money logistically. Right now we've got a lot of building going on over here with condos that are coming in off of Railroad Canyon Road. It'd be really smart if they ever decided to do Goat Hill is to get all those trucks and just drive on over and start ripping that up now and get some money for Canyon Lake, because right now it doesn't look like they're going to make it. They have the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Horton.
Well, the question was about the reserves, and so I'm not going to go into the other issues that were raised. Yes, the reserves are too high, but it is not required that EVMWD do any projects in Canyon Lake. There is an organization called the Lake Elsinore Canyon Lake Total Maximum Daily Load Task Force. 21 agencies in the watershed, a 780-mile watershed, have to find ways to reduce the nutrients that go into Canyon Lake through pollution such as water breakdown, phosphorus, fertilizer, dog waste, grass clippings, whatever comes down from the watershed into Canyon Lake. Those entities, including cities like Hemet, cities like Paris, Moreno Valley, San Jacinto, they have to pay to mitigate what they do to the lake. The reserves that EVMWD have has nothing to do with that. They are not required to take any action regarding the pollution that comes from above us in the watershed. The only thing they are responsible for is any pollution that comes from land that EVMWD itself owns. So the total maximum daily load task force has had the requirement to reduce phosphorus, nitrogen, chlorophyll A, and increase dissolved oxygen in both lakes, Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake. And they have expended $15 million that were given to them from the Clean Water Act to do just that. The monies that EVMWD have, that's out. Most of it, I believe, is like a legal slush fund that intimidates anybody from doing anything legally against this water district. If anybody wants to sue them, they know that there is this money available and that they will be very intimidated. They know it will be a 50-year lawsuit. Everybody will be dead and gone, and it will not be solved. So we're talking about different monies that have to be used for different purposes, and we're getting a little mixed up.
Mrs. Horton, Mr. Weber has a 1 minute rebuttal. Then Mr.
There's no mixed up at all. I mean, EVMWD has $174 million. They have the reservoir Canyon Lake, which is our drinking water. We need to take some of that money and make that lake viable. Right now, what we're doing with all these 21 different agencies we talked about is a Band-Aid fix. It's not a real fix. So, there needs to be a management change. Like, they have to have different focus. You say it's their money. It's not their money. It's all of our money. And the fact of the matter is that we should be using that money to fix the lake. But the management has fallen down in this respect. Nobody's taking the leadership at EVMWD to say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to fix Canyon Lake. Then we're going to fix the Lake Elsinore permanently. There's no reason we shouldn't. We've got the money to do this. I don't understand that thinking at all when you say that it's their money and they don't need to do this. No, it's not their money. It's Canyon Lake's money to get that lake cleaned up once and for all correctly. Not with these Band-Aid fixes. Then all they do is really pollute the lake and put our health at risk. Read the reports on aluminum in the body. It's not a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norkin.
So $174 million of all of our money that we've paid higher rates, connection fees, permit fees, and everything else. And you say, well, hey, we shouldn't be using that money because the other 21 agencies are responsible to do that. Well, $174 million to run a water district that has an annual budget less than that seems to be an absurd amount of money. $174 million to me should just be sitting in an account, earning maybe what Mr. Weber said, 1% or whatever it was. That's our money that should be working for us. Whether it's, we need to switch out all of our high-use toilets in all of our homes. They had a program like that was very short. They should be helping incentivize these things so that we can conserve water. We can go ahead and build infrastructure improvements. So I'm not saying spend $174 million tomorrow, but what I'm saying is spend 20% of that so it will have a definite improvement on our community, because $174 million sitting in an account to scare somebody from not suing me, that to me is ridiculous.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal. Yes, Mrs. Horton.
Well, it's the scientists that decide what are the treatments that will work in Canyon Lake, and the scientists decided that there were two treatments. One, a hypomagnetic oxygenation system. That turned out to be too costly, so they chose alum. They proved that it's safe. Toxicity tests were done. It's absolutely safe. Alum is the third most prolific element in the Earth, and it's not harmful to us. And we absolutely proved that in all of our public sessions that were held prior to the aluminum treatment. So I think that's important to know that people here do not understand that whole process. But I think the other part of it is that a water district hasn't got many of the regulations on it that, let's say, Southern California Edison has. There's a PUC, a Public Utilities Commission, that they have to go before if they want to raise rates. Public water agencies don't have to do that. They hold a hearing, they put a notice on page 495 of the newspaper, nobody knows about the hearing. The hearing is held, they raise the rates. That's how it works.
Thank you. I heard Tuscany Hills HOA mention it. The Tuscany Hills HOA is one of EVMWD's largest customers of fresh water, which is being used to irrigate plants because recycled water is not available. What can EVMWD do to help deliver recycled water to Tuscany Hills? We'll start with Mr. Weber, followed by Ms. Portman, followed by Mr. Norton.
If you look at EVMWD, the CAFR, the annual financial statements, they've got, I think they put like $1 million for planning again to get the the ball rolling, you get all that recycled water up there in the Tuscany Hills, but that's been going on for about 10 years. It's a little bit long. It's really weird. When you talk to people who are on the board, EVMWD board, they're very strange. Like, we're here to take over small water companies, or just this really odd thing, like there's some sort of like a monopoly or a conglomerate that's supposed to just swallow up little water companies. When in fact, what we're supposed to do is get water to the people, get water to this, the different businesses within our city, and of course to Tuscany Hills. We need to get that off the drawing board and get it into reality. The one we have $174 million. That's one of the things we should probably be putting some of that money towards. Again, I'm not saying to use $174 million today. We've got to have some money in the bank. But right now, we've got enough money to do a heck of a lot more than we're doing now. But the mentality of this EVMWD board is, we're not going to help out Tuscany Hills because the other people will be mad. We're not going to help out Canyon Lake fix their lake because the other people will be mad. We're not going to help out Lake Elsinore because the people in Canyon Lake will be mad if we do that. The fact of the matter is, we're all in this together, and it's just ridiculous to be thinking like that. So we need to have a complete mental change up there, and we need some leadership up there at EVMWD. Not somebody just sitting on all these boards and it's just been watching this stuff happen for the last 6 or 10 years. I mean, anybody can do that. I mean, when I took over the city of Lake Elsinore's treasurer, we got things rolling. I got things done. We got a financial plan. We got a financial policy. It's still in place 8 years later. I became a city council member. We changed management. We got things rolling. We got operations on board. And everything's doing better. I made things, I got things done. I just didn't sit there to hang out, go to parties or whatever the heck else goes on sometimes. I didn't bother. I'm not that kind of person. I'm going to get things done. And I know how to do it. I've got a master's degree in accounting. I know how to look at those financial statements. I did it for the city, and I do it with EVMWD, and believe me, I know what I'm looking at.
Thank you. Mrs. Horton.
Driving up and down Summerhill Road, I see the lush landscape, and it's all wrong. What's happening right now in our drought situation. They have looked many times at changing out the pipes, but of course this is the problem. You can't use pipes for potable water or recycled water. They have to remove those pipes and put in new piping. That costs a lot of money. The plants have to be removed, and drought-tolerant plants have to be added. A lot of money was spent on the landscaping there, and it's very unfortunate that it doesn't work for today's drought situation. I believe that something should be done about Tuscany Hills. I believe that people need help, but what I have heard from EVMWD is that they can't pay for all of the repiping and they can't pay for all of the plants. There is a program right now called turf reduction. All of the grass going up and down could be removed. All people have to do is apply for that funding. I don't think that's happened, but look at what's just happened with all of the recycled water that's available from EVMWD. Last month, the board voted another $50,000 to be spent on Lake Elsinore. The board spends $650,000. They've added $50,000. It's now $700,000. The city of Lake Elsinore matches that money, and that buys all the recycled water that EVMWD currently has available to go into Lake Elsinore to keep the lake level at 1240 above sea level. That recycled water simply isn't there.
Thank you. Mr. Norkin.
That's absolutely correct. The amount of recycled water just isn't there. And so my question is, why not? Why aren't we doing more to produce more recycled water? And you're right, potable water pipes cannot have recycled water pipes. That's why they need to bring in new water pipes. We have a recycle facility down off of River Canyon Road. And if EVMWD had been proactive and been paying attention to trends, they would have said, hey, you know what, recycled water needs to go into new areas like Rosetta Canyon. And although it's not Tuscany Hills, Rosetta Canyon, they went ahead and put recycled pipes in Rosetta Canyon, and guess what's in there? Potable water. Why would they do that? Because we have a group of people at EVMWD who are asleep at the wheel, who are not doing what they need to get done. They need to make sure that recycled water is a priority. They need to start capturing all of our runoff and turning that into recycled water. They need to go to the HOAs. Go to the Tuscany Hills HOA, go to Canyon Hills HOA, go to the Rosetta Canyon HOA, and say to them, you know what? We have a water shortage. We are spending way too much money watering our grass, watering all of our plants. What are the requirements that are CC&Rs in our HOAs? We have to have 50% of our front yards green and with grass. And if you live in certain areas, you'll know that those HOAs will come down on you with all kinds of fury if you don't meet or exceed their expectations. So it will be incumbent upon the EVMWD to reach out to those HOAs and say, you know what, we live in California, we don't have much water. Maybe we need to reduce that requirement for grass in our front yards from 50% to 35%. And on top of that, we understand that would mean an expense for those homeowners. So part of that $174 million slush fund that's sitting there for a rainy day could be used to help offset homeowners. So that way they can get rid of some of that high water usage, put in some drought-resistant plants. We would save water, we would lower some of our water costs because we wouldn't be using so much water, and it would make sense.
Thank you. We're going to hold off on rebuttals on this one. We have a lot of important questions we're trying to get through in the next 20 minutes. A water board sign suggests a vote for a certain candidate is a vote for safe and affordable water. Is there something currently unsafe and unaffordable about our water supply that needs to be fixed that we don't know about? For you first, Ms. Horton.
Well, EVMWD publishes, as all water districts have to, their once a year, comes out in August. I have all 4 of them since, 5 of them, I think, in the last 5 years. It talks about the exact amounts of certain chemicals that are in the water, how many, what metals, fluoride, you name it. It's there. It is not easy to read. It's very difficult for people to understand exactly what is in their water when they read it. And people have said, you know, my water smells like algae, my water smells like rotten eggs. There has to be water quality issues. I don't think there's enough oversight on that. But I think the other thing about safe, affordable water, it's not affordable. They keep raising the rates. The tiered rates went in 5 years ago. Right now there's a court case. In the state of California, the city of San Juan Capistrano has been taken to court by 2 lawyers from San Clemente. And the judge ruled that tiered water rates are not legal. Right now, it's in appeal. It hasn't even been heard yet. It was supposed to be in appeal by November. If tiered water rates are cast down by this judge, and I think water companies are spending a bundle on this appeal, but if they are cast down, it is possible the city of San Juan Capistrano has been told they are going to have to refund some of the money that they have been taking. It has amounted to a tax which was unfair because the people didn't get to vote on that tax. For us, in this district, we have the highest Tier 5 rates in the region. Almost twice what other Tier 5 rates are. More than Eastern, more than Rancho, more than Western. That is because there isn't enough oversight on water districts. They can do what they want, and they hold their meetings from 4 to 5 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon when nobody really can get there. So nobody knows what's going on.
Thank you. Mr. Norkin.
Yeah, I saw those same signs and wondered the same thing. Are we drinking unsafe water? I drink that water every day. My daughter drinks that water every day. My wife drinks that water every day. Is it the best water? Maybe not. Is it safe? I think so. The water district tells us it's safe. The state of California tells us it's safe. But my question would be, we have baseline limits or baseline expectations from the state of California. I think our water district meets those. But do you want a water district that just meets them, or do you want them to exceed them by 10? In my business world, I don't just meet my basic clients' limits. I wouldn't have a business. Everything I have to do needs to stay cutting edge. Everything I have to do needs to be better than it was the time before. And so right now, yes, water, it's safe. I drink it every day. I haven't keeled over. I don't have any ailments from anything that's water. But I want to make sure that going towards the future, that water safety stays the same. Now, when it comes to affordable, I guess depending on how much money you have, affordable, it's all relative to you. I don't find it all that affordable. Every time I open up my bill and I look at it, it just drives me crazy. But it's not necessarily the water charge that we're paying that drives us crazy. It's the sewer charge. Okay? I haven't gotten to a Tier 5 session because when they ask me to not use water, I do not use water. I go ahead and I turn my sprinklers down and I make sure that we're not taking 25-minute showers. So I've never hit a Tier 5. So my experience is I've never had that. But every time I open up my bill and I see that sewer charge, that's 3 and 4 times, I say, why does it cost so much to process all of that wastewater? And the question that it comes down to is the EVMWD does not have adequate power. And so they're paying 3 and 4 times the amount of money to process all of this stuff, and that's where those charges are coming from. And so we take more time as a district to find different ways to produce our power, not leaps, not some boondoggle that they tried a while ago, but continuing on with the solar panel project and other ideas. We can find ways to lower those costs, which in turn would find ways to reduce the cost to the end user.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Safe water. I drink the water every day also. We have a filter system in the house, but we drink it. But with what's going on at the Canyon Lake with the aluminum sulfate, I just think that's a Band-Aid fix. It's not the right kind of fix. We need to dredge that lake correctly, fix it correctly. Adding aluminum to the bottom of that lake, which looks like a Christmas tree that's blocked all white over time, is not a good thing. I think that the lake water down here in Lake Elsinore is safe for recreation, but we have to be careful with these blooms that we have because it can start to lead to some things if people swim in that. So we have to be careful with the recreation aspects of our water. But the drinking aspect, sure, it's safe, but they're adding fluoride to the water, which really I don't agree with. I'd be against fluoride being added to the water. It's been suggested in a Harvard study that it goes to the children with the attention deficit disorder and Alzheimer's and all these other different things. There's studies all over the place. You have to look at LexisNexis to find some of the more scholarly studies, you know. But generally speaking, I don't think any chemical should be added to the lake. I don't think any chemical should be added to the water that don't need to be, you know. And those two things don't need to be. I think that as far as the affordability, we've got a huge slush fund in the back. They're not doing anything to make anything better. Sewer rates, sure, we could make a peaker station. We have a couple thousand kilowatts or megawatts, what they call it, and then probably enough to power that station. Right now at my work, we have one of those stations. It's about as big as this room. It's enough to generate the power for the entire plant. The plant is huge, you know, and that's the kind of thing we should probably be looking at, something that runs off of natural gas, because solar just doesn't cut it. It just doesn't get the power. You're not going to get the power we need. So that's something we need to look at. But again, you know, the leadership at EVMWD doesn't even look at a peaker station, a peaker electric station. They look at a $10 million boondoggle. They spend $10 million on legal fees and consultants to build that electric power station up on top of the hill that was never going to happen. And they just have all their priorities in the wrong place, and nobody's thinking correctly.
Thank you. I have a question that I asked our Senate candidates as well. Governor Brown recently signed a historic groundwater management legislation which overturns what has long been held an inviolate property owner right to pump as much water from the ground as we like. What other similarly historic actions would you recommend to help California overcome chronic water shortages? We'll start with Mr. Norkin on this one.
You know, that's a tough one. To me, conservation is the key. You know, water, if it doesn't rain, we have no water. You know, we're pumping it out of the ground faster than it replenishes. Unfortunately, Mother Nature has not been as nice to us as it was in the past. Obviously, we have a very cyclical flow pattern here where our Lake Elsinore will dry up. We're going through a pretty nasty drought now. But we really haven't done much to address storage. We haven't done much to address conservation. We always say when there's an emergency, let's conserve. But as soon as Diamond Valley Lake fills back up, okay, everyone go ahead and use as much water as you can. And so this state, all the way down to the water districts, do very little to teach conservation. That should be something that's taught at an education, at an elementary school level, all the way through. And yeah, you can go onto EVMWD's website and you can find all kinds of information, but you have to be looking for it. And I don't know about you, but the average person doesn't go looking for conservation stuff because as soon as they do, they pass out and go to sleep. Because as Mrs. Horton said, Mrs. Horton, I'm sorry, the stuff the water district puts out puts you to sleep. It's not anything that anyone wants to spend time reading. And so if we did a better job teaching conservation and teaching people what they're doing, I mean, it's simple things as when you're brushing your teeth, don't let the water run the entire time. Turn it off. We host a foreign exchange student in our house every single year. And when they take a shower, they turn off the water as they're putting the suds in their hair and when they're soaping up and everything else. And if everyone did that, how much water would we actually be saving? Would we be in such a crisis now? Maybe Europe has a better understanding of conservation than this country does. And so to me, the responsibility of EVMWD, as well as every water district and our state, should be teaching conservation so that way our precious resource, the one thing, or the second thing that we can't live with without air, is water. Why are we always in a hole looking for it?
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
I don't think there's too many private wells in Lake Elsinore, in the whole area that are we have super wells and things like that, and they've got to refill. They've got to refill with water, and they never really tell us what the height of that water is. I remember when I worked up here at a factory up here, we used to have wells, and when it rained, the aquifer down below would fill up 17 feet. I mean, it fill up pretty rapidly, and I remember I was surprised by that. I never knew the volume or the amount of water that was in that aquifer. Maybe they told us some of these things would be good, but like Mike was saying, it's kind of dry reading, and not too many people get too into it. Maybe some incentive programs for savings, maybe like a whole street or something, or somehow get some sort of competition between areas or something, like Tuscany Hills versus Hemming Hills for increasing the percentage of water, and then maybe give them back some money, something to that effect, But again, EVMWD, nobody takes the lead on anything. Nobody's thinking outside the box. Everybody's just thinking, well, it's their money and they don't have to give it, This Canada's got their own money and they don't have to give it. The thing is, it is their money, and we got to stop this foolish thinking that like one place is pitted against another. We're all, like I said, we're all in this together. So what we need to do is just get new leadership, which I'll be a part of, and just start thinking differently. That's one of the things I bought the treasury position when I was on Lake Elsinore. I was thinking differently, and it made some positive changes. When I was the council member, I brought different thinking in there. I listened to people. They brought positive changes in the operations and management there. I get things done. We got good things done for the city. I'd like to get some things done for EVMWD. I think there's a lot of good things we can learn from other districts that are going through the same problems that we are. Yet I haven't seen anything. I don't think there's a lot of crosstalk or a lot of sharing between districts from what I'm hearing. And I would definitely be looking to see what ideas they have to help us, conserve water more and do a better job with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Horton.
Thank you. Well, one of the problems is that the state of California has all of these water rights issues that go back a couple hundred years. Certain groups have controlled the water that exists within our state. The country of Australia had exactly the same problem. There were lots of water rights issues. They had a severe drought that went on for over 10 years. They had severe water issues. And what they did was the government took on deregulation. They took away those rights and rebuilt the country in a way that was safe and sane so that water was distributed effectively. I don't think that's ever going to happen anytime soon in California. But I just wanted to mention that it has happened in other places. I was at a meeting one time, and the people in EVMWD thought they were going to get 12,000 acre-feet every year from the area above San Jacinto, Banning and Beaumont. They were very chagrined when they found out that they aren't getting anything. None of the water that they expected is coming because right now the San Jacinto River is blocked, and all of that water goes into a ephemeral lake. That means it's a brief lake, only a few times a year it doesn't exist. The water lands in this lake, which is really part of several dairy ranches, and it evaporates. All that potable water is lost. And nobody can do anything about it because the San Jacinto River is not viable at that stage. We do have private wells. There are 2 wells right now the EVMWD is bringing on. One is called the Palomar well. They've been working to make it happen, and the other one is the Flagler well. The Flagler is the one that they say is going to produce the most water. They have been working on that. Right now they have a program, and I hate to be the apologist for the water district, but I've been forced to by Mr. Norkin. There is $2 per square foot to replace the turf in your backyard or your front yard with drought-tolerant plants. And golf courses have a program called turf reduction, where they are given, they can get millions of dollars because they have maybe 17 or 20 acres that they can take out of turf, grass, and remove it and put in mulch and different plants that look very beautiful, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That program is available right now, and many courses are taking advantage of it. The other thing is...
Thank you, Mrs. Horton. I think you did have a request to stop. Is that correct? We do have one more very important question and closing statement in the next 5 minutes, so we're going to rush along. I apologize. Very important question. California's Proposition 1, a new $7 billion state water bond, is promoted as a way to protect long-term farm jobs by building new dams. Detractors cite the proposition as a scheme to charge taxpayers higher water fees for water they already own that enriches special interests. What is your position on proposition number 1? I believe we're starting with Mr. Weber, followed by Mrs. Horton. Mr. Norkin.
I really don't like giving the government any more money than I have to, but on this one, I think that it's, going to have to, I'm going to probably vote yes for it. I haven't made a full decision on it yet, but in theory, it sounds correct. It'll make more dams, and I guess somehow get the aquifers to fill up better with these dams and everything. But it's just, I'd like to see the plans. I mean, you see it in the pamphlet and on the guide, but yet I'm not sure exactly where the pipes are going and who's really going to benefit from all this, like what sections of the country. I know right now in the Central Valley, because we deal with the agriculture, we have agriculture down in Brawley, we have thousands of acres, and in Salinas, they got some major water problems up there. What's happening is the aquifers are having saltwater bleeding. They got some problems, and that's our food supply, so some of that money is going to go to there too, so I'm probably going to be voting for it. I'm leaning that way. We're in a crisis here. I like desalinization plants. Hopefully some of the money is going to go towards those things. I have to really look into it a little bit more, but so far I'm making choices.
Thank you. Mrs. Horton.
Well, it's following the legislature as they were putting this bill together, this proposition together, and it ended up, everybody took away things and people added things, and nobody ended up happy. That's the way it always is with these propositions. But I do agree with Peter that we have to do something, and that is what we have before us. It's not enough, it's too little too late, but it's going to be the start. There is right now an effort to put together a JPA called the Joint Powers Authority, Rancho and Eastern and EVMWD working together to get the funding from the state government for desalinization. They recognize that they have to have desalinization coming in, and they're looking at a location near San Onofre, the nuclear energy center, SOMS it's called. They are going to use a location near there because SOMS is now closed down, so it would be relatively safe, we assume. So they are doing things that are thinking outside of the box. The problem is people don't know about it. Why? Because they hold meetings at 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon when everybody who's working is on their way to work. Or if you are a woman who has children, they're home from school, you can't leave them. Nobody can come to those meetings except me. I'm the only one of the public who ever attends them. So it's not a good thing when you don't have anybody coming to your meetings. You have got to have people who will understand what's going on. That's part of it. We don't understand. So we need to change that. We need to change the secretiveness of water districts. We need to change the high salaries that they pay the directors. $43,000 a year, plus a huge benefit package of life insurance and medical, vision, you name it, dental, for a part-time job, and they retire with pensions. It's a travesty. That needs to change, and I assure you, when I am elected, it will change. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Morgan.
I'll make it easy because I know we need to get out of here. Yes, I'm going to vote for Prop 1. It's the right thing to do. We need to continue to fund our state water project. Unfortunately, it is what it is. It's not the best thing in the world, but we need to continue to fund that.
Thank you, Mike. If you want to stay there, please stand. The last question is going to be involved into our closing statement as well. You're going to have 2.5 minutes. In your closing statement, I'd like you to include what specific water-related management experience you had that makes you the best choice for EVMWD, and this will be the closing statement as well. Mr. Norkin, followed by Mr. Weber, followed by Mrs. Horton.
Well, that's a curveball question. I don't have any water-related experience as a manager, but I would challenge you to look at the 5 board members that were sitting on EVMWD's board and ask them, when they became directors, did they have that knowledge? Absolutely not. So it does not require someone with that knowledge and that experience to get elected, because there is one person up here that does have that. And I say, what has been going on while they were doing all of those different subcommittees, while they were working with all these JPAs and all these different things? What were they doing with that experience? Were they getting things done? Why are we up here complaining about some of those very things taking place when she had an opportunity to make a difference? She had an opportunity to say, as an elected official, why are we holding meetings at 4 o'clock? Why are we holding meetings away from everybody else, because I couldn't agree with her more. As someone who works for a living, someone who has to work 10, 12 hours a day to support my family, I can't go to a 4 o'clock meeting either unless it's part of my job. And so yes, I want to make sure that we're doing everything appropriately. If elected, I'm going to be one of you. I want to be one of you. I'm going to be there representing you every step of the way. I'm going to be asking those tough questions. I'm going to be demanding answers because I'm not a career politician. I don't have a plan to be here in politics for the next 20 years. I want to come in. I want to make a difference. I see problems inside EVMWD, and I'm going to ask those questions. As a business owner, as someone who's been there and done that for the past 12 years, I have absolutely no problem. As you see, I'm an unpolished speaker. I'm going to come up here and say what I feel because I call it as I see it. And in some cases, that may be a bad thing, but in some cases, that's a great thing because I'm not afraid to ask those questions. There are board members that have been sitting on that board for years, and you say, what's going on, guys? Why aren't you asking those questions? We had a board member from District 1 for the last 19 years. Did anyone at Lake Elsinore ever see that gentleman? Did he ever come to Tuscany Hills? Did he ever knock on my door? Did he care what was going on at Lake Elsinore? Absolutely not. And so I'm here to make a difference. I care about Canyon Lake as much as I care about Lake Elsinore because the water at Canyon Lake comes to Lake Elsinore when we need to drink it. And so if we have an issue with Canyon Lake, it affects me. And for someone to say, hey, I'm just concerned about Canyon Lake and I only care about what's going on over there, that's offensive to me because we're all in it together. And not just District 1, we have an entire 132,000 customers, part of the EVMWD system that should care about everything and everything together. And if I'm elected, I will make the entire district my priority.
Thank you, Mr. Norkin. Mr. Weber.
Thank you. I have a degree in engineering, a lot of civil engineering courses, but we got into like slope and things and how the water flows through pipes and all those kinds of things, and cleanliness of water, someplace water treatment theory. Did that. My first tangle here with this water company was the LECC project, that big electric power plant on the hill. It always made no sense to me. They're going to pump water up at night, drop it down today. And sure enough, the biggest thing at that point was they needed the skydivers to have someplace to land. Well, they figured it out, and everybody said, okay, we're going to build it now. It acted like they're going to happen, and everybody said, wait a minute. So I took a look at the financials on it and found out it's going to lose about $80 million a year operating cost. So they had the white paper. When they do a white paper before you finalize anything with the government, they have question and answer sessions. So we were on the phone, and I brought that up, and other people started talking about it. For the most part, the thing died after that. Nobody's going to lose $80 million, not Siemens or anybody. And the people on the water board were like, the boys with the big checks are coming in. They're going to build this thing. No, they're not. Nothing to lose $80 million. You got to be kidding yourself. These are the kind of people we have on the water board that are supposedly experienced ones. And they got their experience, they got their knowledge of the water board through experience. And I have experience in government, and I understand how to get things done as treasurer, and of course as the council member in Lake Elsinore. But, it comes through experience. But you can be on a million different boards and nothing happened. I think Nancy's been on like a whole bunch of these different boards, but still, we've got the same problems. I mean, it's nice to be on these boards and put them all over your resume, but the fact of the matter is that you do anything. And so far, I don't think very much has been done. I did my full terms when I was elected to these different positions and appointed. I'm not one to just like decide to leave to get taken another position because you feel you're needed there. I just don't get it. The thing is, I do feel I'm needed here. I have a job. It's a big job, but I'll have time to do the things I need to do, just like I did when I was elected to the city of Lake Elsinore. So I will get some things done. I'm not just going to sit there and sit on the title itself. And I just don't think that all these different boards and committees that you've been on with regard to the water board really make any difference. Because really, if anything, I'd be ashamed of because nothing's been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Horton.
Well, that gives me a wonderful opening to say what has been done. I served on the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watershed Authority as immediate past president. I've been on it for 6 years. That's the funding arm for all of the projects that happen in Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake. And so all of the monitoring that's gone on, all the projects that have gone on, it has to be approved. Where do the projects come from? From the Total Maximum Daily Load Task Force. I've served on that for 6 years. All of the projects that happen in Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake go through that arm and become actuality. I served on the committee which prepared the presentation and was awarded $500,000 for the alum treatments in Canyon Lake. And I have to agree with Mr. Weber. I was chagrined to find out that board members on EVMWD did not understand the chemistry for the alum treatments, and they actually voted against it on one of our leisure meetings, which held up the approval of that $500,000 for quite some time. I serve on the San Jacinto Watershed Council as a director. One of our bodies on that council has just received a $200,000 grant that they're matching with $200,000. It is going to provide a pollutant trading program so that if any city wants to spend money on Lake Elsinore or Canyon Lake, they will have an offset for it. They will have credits that they can use. What has kept some of these cities from investing in our lakes is that there was no way for them to get credit, so they weren't going to spend any money. So a lot of it has been done, but I think what I have worked the hardest on is the Quail Valley Environmental Coalition, which I founded with other people from the city of Menifee when it was incorporated. And we have worked for 6 years to lift the moratorium on construction in Quail Valley by putting in a sewer system so that the failing septic tanks in Quail Valley can no longer pollute Canyon Lake. Eastern Municipal Water District received a grant of $1.93 million and has matched it with $6 million from the State Department of Water Resources. Within 1 year, Phase 1, Area 9, will be sewered, and within 3 to 5 years, we will have the moratorium lifted. That means the bacterial pollution that's been going into Canyon Lake for the last 25, 30 years will stop because those failing septic systems will be closed up and will no longer be useful. I have worked hard on these things. I am not a career politician. I call myself a public servant, and I have worked long and hard. I'm very, very proud of what I have done, and I thank you very, very much for coming this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for them. We'd like to thank all of the candidates for taking the time to be with us this evening. The LECC is a strong believer in educating voters on issues and candidates and feels that such debates provide service and an opportunity for candidates to express their views as well as citizens to hear about. Folks, these debates don't just happen. They take hard work and coordination by many people. This year's debate was put on by the Lake Elsinore Citizens Committee. How about special thanks and a round of applause to Baldwin and Jeanie Corral. The LECC also wants to thank the Lake Elsinore Women's Club for making their venue available for us this evening. As a reminder, if you have more questions for the candidates, please submit them to the voter's guide at lecc.us. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody's vote is more important than yours. Unless you don't vote, then everybody's vote is more important than yours. November 4th, mark it down, get out to the polls. Thank you for being here this evening.